Hearing in Color's Young Composer Residency is an immersive residency focused on engaging emerging composers of diverse backgrounds to write choral music for advanced treble voices. This year marks the second year of this residency and partnership with La Caccina, an all-women's vocal ensemble championing the performance of innovative repertoire for women's voices and inspiring the next generation of collaborative musicians. I am very happy to be sitting here with our second ever young composer in residence, Ephraim Champion. Now, Ephraim is actually not a stranger to composition altogether. He is an active musician and composer here in Chicago who received his Bachelor's of Music in Horn Performance and is currently pursuing his master's degree in orchestral studies at Roosevelt University's Chicago College of Performing Arts. Ephraim, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just start here. What interested you in applying for Hearing in Color's residency program?
Yeah, so I guess as someone trying to start out and grow my composition career, applying for residencies, I guess is kind of a big step in doing that.
Yeah.
So I just wrapped up a commission with Constellation Men's Ensemble, which is, I believe the term is like the brother ensemble for La Caccina.
Mm-hmm.
And the head of the group, Ryan, he sent an email out to us after that concert and talked about the La Caccina residency. So I applied.
Now, when you found out you were selected as the second young composer, what went through your mind?
I guess one of the first things was like, oh man, I actually won. Now I have to write something for and I still consider myself very new to writing for voice. The thing for Constellation was the first thing I've done for voices.
Mm-hmm.
And now I had to write for a different type of voice, and I guess I was intimidated a little by the challenge, but it was cool to get the opportunity to do both at back to back.
Right.
That was really it's really a big honor for me. I'm extremely grateful to have got the residency. So
Nice. Well, we're obviously very happy to have you. So thank you for accepting.
Of course.
So what's it been like composing for an ensemble like La Caccina?
Yeah. So it's man, it's been fun, challenging. All of that. It's so I knew they were like an advanced group of treble voices, and that doesn't mean I wanted to write something hard for the sake of it being hard, but I didn't really feel like I had to scale things down.
Right.
What I wanted to put on the page. So that was a cool thing. I had to adjust to ranges for the voices, and so I tried to research a lot, but at some point I was like, okay, I just had to start writing.
Like you said, you had originally, or just before this, you had been composing for all male voices, and now you're composing for all women's voices. Was there anything that was just a complete shock aside from the obvious?
I mean, I guess range is one thing naturally. So like the male voice, there's a low register. Of course, they could go lower than the female voice. And I do really like sort of the depth and darkness of like real low male voices. So I usually when I think of vocal things, I'm thinking of like the male voice doing something like that for some reason. So there's that aspect that's not necessarily missing, but it's in a different way with the female voice.
Yeah. So this year, differently than our first year, there is a composer mentor who is actually no stranger to Hearing in Color and certainly no stranger to composition. Steve Wallace, who you might remember last year we did his chamber opera Undying Love. I'm so grateful to Steve for jumping in as our first mentor for our young composer. Tell me a little bit about how that's been for you.
Steve, he's awesome. I had a call with him the other day, actually, and we were talking about the sort of the direction for the rest of what I'm going to write. And I knew I would run into problems and that I would be using his services, especially at those moments. Yeah, like I started off not really I had a lot of questions for Carling because, that's that's the group, and
Right.
she knows their voices and registers and all that. So I felt I was asking her a lot of things, but other than that, I wasn't really talking to anybody. I was just writing and everything. And then when I ran into like sort of compositional things, those bigger questions, it was really helpful to be able to talk to Steve. So yeah, he gave me some really helpful things to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. I'm glad that that's working out. You've got a lot of people offering a lot of feedback to you, obviously, in this
Yeah.
commissioning process. There's Carling, who's the artistic director, now Steve. You've got me sometimes when I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's been
and
great.
obviously yourself. So that's really awesome that it's come together like that.
Cool. Yeah, it's been great. I'm thankful for all the help
Yeah.
that I have with this journey.
So tell us a little bit about All Things Sublime and Colossal.
It's about the idea of like recognition or like a heightened level of awareness of one's smallness in a very vast and unknown world. But it's not just that recognition, it's also just the beauty of that idea as well. You know, we're so wrapped up in our day-to-day activities and
Yeah.
everything, and a very small amount of time, I think, we don't look inward, I guess, for in our lives, and I mean, or we don't look outward, in our lives.
Yeah.
And so, and I guess the backstory for that is that the piece is really inspired by nature in a lot of ways. And I was on a vacation when I figured out I won the residency, and the melody that I already had for that piece, if I won it, sort of morphed into this idea about, it was kind of like an introspective thing I was looking at with me recognizing my place in the world. And, it was like we were on these 22-hour plane rides and the flights and like the clouds, and then I was snorkeling and spending a lot of time in the water, and it was like the sea, and it seemed like there was all of these worlds within all of these big, sublime, and colossal worlds within our own already, which is
Right.
already a big, sublime, colossal world. And then there's just the grand scheme of things. There's just the universe. And I'm not even one to try to get deep about things usually, but just that idea really blew my mind. I'm like, wow, there's so much other things happening
Right.
other than me. And no matter how much humans try to conquer like land or sea or anything, there's just the force of nature and that we don't know. I don't think we know much about.
Right.
So, and I guess in a way, it's kind of spiritual for me too. I mean, I personally believe in God, but it's kind of despite what you believe in, it's also the idea of like that there's something working
Right.
within or through everything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what better way to set that idea even than for the voice? And I
Right.
think you've picked the right ensemble to, I guess we picked the right ensemble for you to really kind of experiment with that idea with this, this vocal piece. So
yeah, and that's the one thing I love. I love the idea of using the female voice to represent an idea like that too, because I feel like in our world, females can not be seen as something that's sublime and colossal, and I think so. I mean, a female can give birth to a human. I think
Right.
that's like pretty big. So I just like the idea of, sort of this, you have sort of this mother nature idea and this, like the female voice, I really liked that representation of it.
So if there's one thing about All Things Sublime and Colossal that you want listeners or the audience when, this performance goes up, what's the one thing that you want them to grab from this piece?
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the challenges with it. I have a title like that, and I wonder if it's, if I can live up sort of to the title of it. It's such like a big concept, and there's a part to the piece that's very like introspective, and then there's outwardly sort of an outward presence to the piece that's it's looking outwards, it's looking away from yourself into like how the world is set around you.
Absolutely. So you just got finished rehearsing this piece for the first time with this ensemble. What's on your mind? What's something that you learned? What's something that you're taking away from that rehearsal?
Yeah, the good thing is I think everything will work. That's the first thing. Is like, okay, I think we're gonna be okay here. It's always the first reading and all that is always like scary. really concerned about what the musicians may be thinking, like, oh, this is horrible, or what is he thinking here? And so it's always things like that. And La Caccina sounds amazing, and it quickly, even the parts that were, they're just reading, but even the parts that were like a little shaky, like quickly came together.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously there must be a moment for you. You've had all of this music kind of existing in your head, and then maybe on like a musical software. What's it like, that moment to just kind of hear real human voices, especially with a piece with an idea so colossal,
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, like the MIDI was horrible. It's I put this text in, you can't hear it. They're just the MIDI just singing on one syllable the whole way through. When I do a lot of counterpoint, it just sounds like noise. It's just like this cacophony aspect. Stuff, things in the piece like the body percussion, I had to input in like sounds to represent certain things, and I could actually hear, the stomps and claps and foot pads and lap pads, whatever. So yeah, that was cool to actually hear that, and then nothing beats the real thing.
Right.
And they there's a level of clarity that's really nice that you can't get from like a MIDI or anything like that. So I think my favorite part of the rehearsal, it's the biggest first moment of the piece. They say all things colossal, and I think that part was really, I tried to make it colossal, and I think it really turned out well.
All things
So Ephraim, thank you so much for being a part of this residency and for talking with us. We are extremely excited to hear the final product of your residency at the first concert of Caccina's 2022-23 season, Body and Spirit. The concert is entitled Extraordinary Machine on November 12th and 13th at the Merit School of Music. Head to lacaccina.org for tickets and head to hearingincolor.org for more on Ephraim Champion and our Young Composer Residency.